Hello, fashion enthusiasts. As promised, we're launching our podcast to share our perspectives on fashion, lifestyle, and everything in between. Don't forget to follow our Instagram at Ambiance Slow and Ambiance Paso, and YouTube at Ambiance Boutiques to catch all the latest news and VIP promos.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourself to people listening?
Sure. My name is Kiah Twisselman, and I am a cattle rancher turned life coach after embarking on my own health journey, losing over 125 pounds. I'm also a crazy cat lady. I'm finally admitting that to the world.
I have kittens in our office. So
I know I have to go visit them. So the way that this happened, I didn't plan to become a crazy cat lady. The crazy cat lady.
Why the crazy? You could just say cat lady.
That's true. But I think the fact that there are like more than 3 makes me crazy. Like,
are they all indoors?
No.
That you hesitated.
So this is a story. I'll try to make it short. But basically, we live on a ranch, and there was a cat that had a litter of barn kittens. And my fiance, he's really the cat person in the family. I used to consider myself. I still like dogs, but
and what does he do? He does. He works for the Farm Bureau.
Yes,
right?
He's the executive director of the SLO County Farm Bureau. He's a Kentuckian. I imported him with me to California, which let me tell you, it is hard to get a man to leave the South. But by some miracle,
especially California,
like which might as well be Mars and another planet. So he must really like me, you guys, because he came. But I always joke with people that I had to import my fiance because if I picked someone from this county, I'd probably accidentally marry a cousin because like that problem is real here.
Yeah. Well, and you're connected to the Madonnas.
Yep.
Right. And then you just shared with me that your family, they're ranchers, and tell people where on the chorizo. Is it chorizo or chorizo?
Chorizo is a sausage, which I'm a big fan of, but so it is called, it's confusing because people that aren't from there call it the Carrizo Plains. That's like the old name for it. But people that are local call it the Carissa Plains. So that's where I'm from. It's like not even technically a town. Our address is Santa Margarita, which is 50 miles away, but that's the closest post office. So
crazy.
But yeah, it's a very rural part of SLO County. I think most people only know of it because during wildflower season, it's like the best place to go to see wildflowers in the spring. And
is it poppies or is it just wildflowers?
All sorts of stuff. But yeah, there's poppies, but there's all sorts of wildflowers. Wildflowers. There's probably some fires too. There definitely have been some fires this year, but
and it's so random that my husband has been literally for months trying to convince me to buy 2 acres on the Carrizo Plains because they're only $5,000.
Yeah,
for 2 acres. He's wants to go camp there and shoot some guns.
Listen, I get it. It's funny you say that because my family has a hunting business. So like he's welcome anytime. And we also have a glamping business at the ranch too. So we just, my sister-in-law and my brother started.
We'll have to link both to both of those things.
Yes, please do.
What is the name of the hunting business?
The hunting business, you can find out more at twisselmanranch.com. We have elk hunts, wild hog hunts, dove, quail, all the things. And then the camping business, you can also find out about twisselmanranch.com, but it's called Temblor Mountain Pack Train if you want to check them out on Instagram. But we have glamping, so it's like glamorous camping. So there's showers and bathrooms, but there are these
which is the best type of camping.
Right? Like, let's be honest,
camped without comfort, without actual plumbing and showers, which I have, I prefer the latter.
Yeah, I get it. And so we have these like canvas wall tents that my sister-in-law has decorated so beautifully, like very cute. Southwestern. It is very Instagram worthy for some good Instagram shots.
We'll have to do a photo shoot up there.
Oh my gosh, yes, that would be so much fun. I'm invited, right?
Yes,
okay, good.
Definitely invited.
But yeah, it's been a great way for us to kind of open up the doors to
and
the
you
ranch.
said that they might be nominated for one of the best 10 boutique camps in California.
So they're currently actually in the running.
People need to go vote. What is it?
Yeah, so go vote at hipcamp.com. So hipcamp is kind of like the Airbnb of campsites.
Oh, cool.
And that's where you can book to stay at the ranch. And they're in the running right now for the best hip camp in California. They got 7th last year and 2nd the year before. So we'd love to see them win. It's really awesome. And it's a cool way to explore the outskirts of our home county here in a new way.
And is it in San Luis Obispo County?
Yeah, it's in San Luis Obispo County, right on the edge in Carrizo Plains.
And so you went to school in
Atascadero.
Yeah, and it was an hour commute every day, one way?
Yep, I had to drive 1 hour each way to go to high school at Atascadero. So
did you homeschool before that?
no, we didn't homeschool. There's a tiny little elementary school out there in Crystal Plains my mom works out. And when I was there, it was kindergarten through 8th grade. And now it's only kindergarten through 5th grade. But when I was there, we had one of the record-breaking highest graduating 8th grade classes. We had 10 people in my graduating class, which was a big deal. I think the record was like
family?
14. 3 of us were cousins. So most of us were family.
So tell me about the cats.
Okay. Oh, right. The cats. So we live at the ranch at my aunt and uncle's ranch here in San Luis Obispo. And there was a cat that had a litter of barn kitties. And Brent, my fiance, is a crazy cat person. I keep saying crazy. I just have to put the crazy in front of it. I don't know why, but
I think that people think cat people are crazy.
It's true. And I am totally perpetuating that stereotype for better or for worse. But so they had a litter of kittens, and then that mama cat did not get spayed. So she had another litter of kittens. So at one point there were 14, and they were barn cats. But one day they showed up on our porch, and we maybe fed them a little bit of bologna to convince them to love us. And then they just kind of stayed.
Is that how you got your fiance?
What? Yeah, I just fed him a little bit of bologna and then he stayed. Yeah, fried bologna. That's how you get a Southerner. But yeah, so there's 6 of them now, and they have been spayed and neutered, so we're controlling the population.
Oh, there's 6.
There's 6. And I call them the porch cats because they were barn cats, but now they hang out on the porch because
Do they come inside the house?
We let them come in the house, but there's no litter box, so they don't sleep in the house. But like in the mornings, if you follow me on my Instagram in the mornings, I like to show the cat stampede.
You got to tell everybody your Instagram.
My Instagram is Kiah, Kiah_Twisselman. Of course, they have 2 really weird names, Twisselman. But every morning when I open the door, I can like hear them meowing. They hear like the turn of the door latch, and 6 of them come flooding in the house. I feed them. I leave the door just kind of slightly cracked. And then while I'm journaling, after they've had their breakfast, they come and snuggle on my lap. And it's like the best way to start the morning.
It is a good way.
So like they're not house cats, but they kind of are.
Yeah. Well, they're not wild anymore just because they're willing to snuggle.
Oh yeah. They have names and I know all their personalities. I'm very attached.
Aww, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me how you met your husband.
So I met Brent. Let's see.
Or soon to be husband, fiance.
Yeah. Soon to be husband. So I was the rebel. I'm going to tell you the long story. I'm sorry.
Do it. Just lay it all out there.
I was the rebel.
We'll edit anything that's
perfect.
Not PG.
Perfect. So I was the rebel in the family that decided not to apply and go to Cal Poly. And I went to UC Davis. So I went to UC Davis after graduating high school. And when I left UC Davis,
What did you study?
I studied human development with a minor in education, which it's not that surprising now because now it actually is kind of relevant to what I do. But at the time it wasn't because most of my career has been in agriculture. Thankfully, though, UC Davis is an ag school. So human development actually fell under the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences randomly. So I was able to kind of satisfy my love for agriculture outside of my career by doing, Young Cattlemen's Association, being involved with ag ambassadors, and getting involved with a lot of national ag organizations as well. So I'm glad that I picked Davis. It was a great experience to get out of my home county, go somewhere where nobody knew my last name. That's what I was really wanting. I mean, not that my last name has a bad reputation, but I wanted to pave my own way,
Yeah, I love that. I admire that.
Thank you. So after I graduated UC Davis, I moved to Germany for a year. And when I was in Germany, I was applying for jobs for when I came back because, I was spending lots of my money on, weekend excursions. And I was like, I need to make sure I have a job lined up when I get back to the States. And I randomly applied for this job that I saw on LinkedIn that the National Cattlemen's Beef Association had shared. So I'm a cattle girl. I was like, okay, this is cool. And it was for the Director of Consumer Affairs at the Kentucky Beef Council. And I was like, okay, Kentucky. I'm pretty sure they speak English, at least a variation of it. I could do that. And so I randomly applied and I had an interview. It was a Skype interview from a hostel room in Berlin. And I remember my soon-to-be boss, he was from Alabama, had this thick accent. I was obsessed with it. And it just blew his mind to think, we are Skype interviewing a Californian with a nose ring from Berlin. Like they had so many questions and red flags about hiring me. They're like, I don't know, she might be a little bit much for us, but they took a chance. I was a wild card and they hired me. And so when I came back to the States. I came home just for California Mid-State Fair. Y'all know how important that is to our community.
Yes, we do.
And then I moved to Kentucky 2 weeks later. And my first week on the job was the Kentucky State Fair. And Brent at the time, he worked for the Kentucky Soybean Board. He's a farm kid, grew up on a farm in Western Kentucky. And the Kentucky Beef Council and the Soybean Board had a partnered booth. And so I met him at the Kentucky State Fair. And the best part about it is the day that I met him, we were setting up our booth at the fair, and these two ladies and a cameraman run up to me and they say, "Hey, do you mind if we steal you for an ambush makeover?" And I was like, looking at my coworkers, like, I just started the job. I don't know if I'm allowed to leave. And my coworker was like, "Yeah, do it." And so I was like, okay. And I had been in Europe for a year, hadn't got my hair done in a year. Like, I got compliments on my ombre hair, and it was not ombre. It was just really grown out. No, not intentional at all. And it was so long. And they were like, "Can we cut your hair?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And so they had this like pop-up salon at the state fair, and they recorded the whole thing. They chopped my hair from like below my nips. Sorry if that's a bad reference, but my hair was like below my nips, and they chopped it off to like an A-line bob, and they did my makeup, and they put me on stage and did the whole live reveal on the morning news show in Louisville, Kentucky. This ambush makeover.
Such a good story.
I know. This was like, I just moved to Kentucky, and I was like, is this how everybody gets welcome to Kentucky?
I'm headed to Kentucky.
Please do. Like, it pays to look like crap at 9 a.m. That's all I know. And it was that day, later that afternoon, I had to go to this Livestock Coalition meeting, and Brent was in charge of that. And that's the day I met him. So I had just got a makeover the day I met my future husband. So really convenient timing. And the crazy thing about it too is that my parents met at the California Mid-State Fair on Junior Fair Board, and both my brothers met their wives at the California Mid-State Fair. So my best relationship advice, I know that they're closed right now because of COVID, but go to more fairs, because that is where love grows.
So then you guys move back here and tell people about what you do for a living.
Yeah. So when I was in Kentucky, sorry, I'm going to take the long way around every one of your questions.
I'm very entertained.
Okay, good. So when I was in Kentucky, I was working for the Kentucky Beef Council. And basically what the Beef Council does is we work on behalf of, I worked on behalf of Kentucky's 38,000 cattle farmers. They're called cattle farmers. They're not ranchers. Fun fact. And my job was to basically be a voice for the producers to consumers. So one of the programs I was in charge of was like our media, our marketing. I had to do the live cooking shows on morning news. I had to do radio interviews, all that fun stuff. But I was also in charge of the nutrition program. So it was my job to go to these, dietetic conferences and conventions and talk about how beef fits into a heart-healthy diet and lifestyle, and talk to students and health professionals and influencers about beef's nutrition. And at the time, I felt so hypocritical about it. I felt like I was doing a disservice to the beef industry because I was not a vision of health. I weighed 285 pounds, and I knew that the messages that I was sharing were true and I believed in them, but I just felt like, who is going to believe a woman like me saying this when I'm not walking the talk? And it really got me thinking. And I was actually getting ready to go to a conference for work with Kentucky. We were flying from Lexington to Arizona for the Ag Media Summit. And on a whim, we were going through the airport, and I stopped into one of the little airport bookstores, and I bought the book, Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. And it was just like a random happenstance that I bought it, but I had seen so many people talking about it on social media. And I was like, okay, like I have 4 hours to kill on this plane ride. I'll just buy the book and see what the big deal is. And I get on the flight, and I'm walking towards the back. And every time I got in a plane, the first thing I'd always do is scan the seats next to me, and always pray that either it was empty or there was like a kid or someone tiny, because I didn't exactly fit into airplane seats very well at all. And so I go on the plane, I sit in the seat, and I go to put my seatbelt, like to buckle my seatbelt, and it's not fitting. And full transparency, this has happened plenty of times on an airplane for me before. And I got really good, like, not that I recommend this, but I got really good about hiding that my seatbelt wasn't buckled by just using a sweatshirt. So that when the stewardess came by, they would think that it was buckled, but it wasn't, because I was too embarrassed to ask for an extender. But this plane ride, I was trying to fumble with my seatbelt, and the stewardess saw that I was struggling, and she says, "Honey, can I get you an airplane, like a seatbelt extender?" I said, "Yeah, okay, thank you." And like, the only thing I could do to not burst into tears in front of my coworkers was just to shove my face in that book that I just bought. And I devoured that entire book in that one plane ride. And
you just gave me chills.
I gave myself chills. Like, even thinking about the story, like, brings it back so much for me. But that book was the words that I needed to hear at a time when I was ready to receive them. And they were really my wake-up call that I had been blaming everyone and everything in my life for my circumstances instead of taking ownership of my own choices. And it was a hard pill to swallow. It was kind of like someone saying like, no, like this is your fault. But it was also the most freeing feeling of my life, because for the first time in my life, I felt like, okay, if it was my choices that got me here, but I want to be somewhere else, then I just have to start making different choices. And that book and that moment and the fact that they happened at the same time in so many ways really changed my life. And my inspiration from that book, I started following Rachel Hollis, and I started just like diving deep into personal development and thinking like, okay, I'm going to start taking ownership of my life. It's not my job's fault. It's not my income's fault. It's not my partner's fault that
It's not your parents' fault.
It's not my parents' fault.
It's not the government's fault.
It's not the government's fault. It's nobody's fault. There's no circumstances in my life that are to blame for anything. At the end of the day, we always get to choose.
Can we get schools to make all the kids read that book?
Oh my gosh, please, right? Maybe not that book. I think she talks about sex a lot, but we'll have a PG-13 version.
Maybe you need to write
I'll write a book. I'll write the book. But I just was like, okay, I'm going to start making better choices for myself. And so I started diving deeper into this whole, personal development world. And I started following Rachel Hollis on social media. And after following her, I saw this thing that she had done, which she called her last 90 days challenge. And if you're not familiar with the last 90 days challenge, basically the idea is, hey, instead of throwing away the last 90 days of the year, like we typically do, like once Halloween candy hits the shelves, we're like, yeah, we'll wait till January 1st, right?
I just had that thought like yesterday.
Yeah, it's so many of us have it.
It's eggnog for me. It's like,
man, eggnog is good.
Eggnog latte or no eggnog
Okay,
latte?
quick side note. Have you ever had boiled custard?
No.
Okay, I had never even heard of it before, and I don't even know if they have it here, but my fiance is obsessed with it, and they sell it in Kentucky, like next to the eggnog. It's basically melted ice cream is what it tastes like, and it's incredible.
So it's like an upgrade from eggnog.
It's like an upgrade from eggnog. Oh yeah, it's like super rich and thick and dangerous and delicious. So good.
Yes.
So good. So this last 90 days challenge, the idea is, hey, what if instead of throwing away the last entire quarter of the year, which is what we typically do, what if we decided to end this part of our year the strongest by just doing 5 simple habits? And the 5 habits that she had as part of her last 90 days challenge was to wake up 1 hour earlier for yourself, to drink half your body weight in ounces of water, to move your body for at least 30 minutes a day, to write down 10 things that you're grateful for, and to give up 1 food that doesn't bless your body. And so I was like, you know what? I think I could do that. Like, what would happen if I just did 5 habits? Like, these are simple little things. What if I just did 5 habits for 90 days just to see what would happen? And after
what'd you give up?
So I did those 5 things. And with my extra hour in the morning, I had just recently started a side business at the time. And at the time it was called Burley and Barley. And it was a nod to Brent grew up on a burley tobacco farm, and we had barley on our ranch. So it was kind of like our tie to agriculture, but it was a graphic design side business, making like logos and graphics for a lot of small farms and friends and family. And so I used that extra hour in the morning to work out and to work on my side business. Because I knew that I liked my job in Kentucky, but I knew it wasn't the thing that I wanted for the rest of my life. I wanted to create my own time and financial freedom so that I could fly home if I had another niece being born or like visit family. I was really missing home. And so the way I started moving my body was with free dance YouTube video workouts in my living room. I didn't join a gym. I knew I didn't like the gym. I was really uncomfortable working out in front of people at the time.
Are you dating your boyfriend now?
Yes, I was with my fiance already.
Right, yeah.
And so, and I made this choice too, because, I used to blame him too. I used to think I can't get healthy until he decides to do it with me. I can't be successful on my own. And I realized that was just an excuse I was using to hold myself back. Just because my dreams aren't somebody else's dreams doesn't mean they aren't valid. I get to decide what I'm going to do for myself. And so that was a really hard thing for me to do, because I let his desires hold me back. And it's not his fault. Nothing's his fault. But I realized that I was using that as a crutch for me to stay safe, not doing what I needed to do in order to reach the goals that I wanted. In terms of the food that I gave up, I am now of the belief that I don't think there's no such thing as a bad food. Like whatever joy food you've got, like eggnog, donuts, both of them together. Like, I don't think there's any bad food. I think it really comes down to
moderation,
balance and moderation, and making empowered choices. I think teaching people to fear foods is not helpful. Like we
Doesn't
are not
work long term.
Yeah, it's not going to be sustainable long term. Like if you don't want to commit to never eating or drinking, let's say if you don't want to commit to never drinking eggnog again ever in your life, then let's find a way to be healthy that also includes drinking some eggnog, you know? Like let's find a way to get healthy in a way that we're willing to commit for the rest of our lives. Because the problem is that we always sign up for these like temporary fixes, and then we're always so surprised when we gain it all back after going back to quote unquote normal, right? So
I'm actually on Weight Watchers, and
Yeah.
I lost 10 pounds in a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
And it's really just about better choices.
Yeah.
There's no foods you can't have. It's just a matter of points. So just keep track of your points. And if you're going to have eggnog, then don't also have the dessert after dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So what were your results after?
So after the first 90 days, I had already lost 25 pounds through the holidays, mind you. Like I lost 25 pounds through the holidays, and I blew my own mind. And I was like,
so what food did you give up?
The food that I gave up. So I will say when I started, I reduced a lot of my starchy foods intake. So I didn't eat a ton of bread or pastas or rice and things like that, just because that's how my body feels better when I don't eat a lot of that stuff. And I also gave up sodas in general. I was like, I didn't even drink a lot of regular sodas, but I drink diet sodas a lot. And I was just like, what haven't I just gave up soda to get all together? So I did that. Now I eat everything. I eat all the things. But that's kind of where I started. That's where I kind of focused on portion controls. I realized that I was a really hardcore late night snacker. Like after 9 p.m., that's when the popcorn came out, you know, the handfuls of the candy, the handfuls of cereal right out of the box, sitting on the couch. Man, and I just bought a box of cinnamon Cheerios, and I've been doing that a lot lately. Cinnamon Cheerios are like my new favorite thing ever.
I don't know if I've had those.
This is the first time I've ever tried them. Highly recommend. So yeah, I lost 25 pounds after the first 3 months, and I was like, okay. And it was the first time in my entire life that come January 1st, I didn't feel like I was making some empty promise to myself. I had already built up all of this momentum based on the foundation of these simple habits that by that point had just become like a part of my routine that I loved and enjoyed. And it didn't feel hard to like, I didn't have to start from square one. It was like,
did it change how you felt about yourself every day? Like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Having more gratitude and taking that time in the morning.
And that's what I really discovered about it was that I think most people that struggle with their weight like I did really start, you know, they've done every diet in the book. I think most people in general have done every diet in the book. But I had done thousands of diets before. I tried the Weight Watchers thing. I tried the Atkins thing. I tried all the different things before, and they always failed me. But the difference was, it's not the diet that is the problem. It's the mindset in approaching the diet or the lifestyle that's the problem. And what I realized was that every other time I tried losing weight before, it was always fueled from this place of hating myself and wanting to fix myself. I would get to a point where I would get so disgusted with who I was and what I looked like that I would say, okay, diet starts tomorrow. We're going to change this so that I can be acceptable now. And when you fuel a journey like that from a place of self-hate, what's going to eventually happen is you're going to make a mistake because we're human. We're always going to make mistakes. And then when
you're going to have a donut,
you're going to have a donut, right? Oreo cookies are going to jump in your mouth. It's going to happen. And when it happens, when you make a mistake, because you started this journey from a place of self-hate, the second that you make a mistake, you're going to use that to hate yourself even more. You're going to say, of course you ate the donut. You always do this. You always fail. Why do you even think this is going to work out? And then you know what you do, or what I did? I would emotionally buffer away from my feelings and distract myself to make me feel better instantly in the moment by eating foods, by eating comfort foods. When I felt like crap, when I was beating myself up mentally, my comfort of choice was food. And so it was this vicious cycle, this self-shame dieting cycle of having a body, hating my body, trying to fix it with a new diet, making a mistake, shaming myself for making a mistake, eating my feelings, having a body. And the cycle just continues and continues. My entire life is this constant cycle that I think so many people, especially women, get caught up on. And so what I realized this last time was it doesn't need to start by me changing my diet necessarily. It doesn't need to start by me changing my workout routines. Where this has to start is me having a different relationship with my body as it is right now. I realized that what I needed to do was, instead of looking at my body and hating it and wishing me to be thin, because you can hate yourself heavy and you can still hate yourself when you're skinny. Weight loss is not going to make you love yourself anymore. That is internal work.
Amen.
And so if you start at the beginning of your health journey from a place of, I'm going to learn to love, respect, and appreciate and accept this body right now, just as it is. At 285 pounds, I'm going to respect and appreciate this body just as it is. And from that place of love and respect and appreciation, I'm going to care for it well. And when I say care for it well, that's in the small things of self-care. That is in moving your body in joyful ways. It is in fueling your body with foods that it enjoys, but also ones that make it physically feel good. It's changing the way that you talk to yourself and speak to yourself. And it's really that internal relationship that has to change first. Mindset is everything in this.
Don't you think? I think a lot of people have foods that don't make them feel good,
Mhm.
but when they're in that mindset of not liking their body, it's almost they're not connected to that.
Right.
They're not paying attention to it.
Absolutely. And I think it also is like we punish ourselves. Like because we don't think we're worthy when we make a mistake, it's like we're punishing ourselves by eating things that we know aren't good for us. And it's just this self-hate judgment cycle. And I think that, I, as a life coach now, I kind of accidentally became a life coach and a weight loss coach. And I have a digital course where I help women really do this work, focusing on that mental transformation from the inside out first. That's where we always start. Is I don't tell them how to change what they eat. What feels good in your body is something that it probably feels different to my body. I'm not a registered dietitian. I don't give people specific nutrition advice. I'm not a certified personal trainer. Like I know what makes my body feel good. So the work that I do with the women and my clients is really focused on that mental mindset transformation and how can we learn to speak to ourselves different? How can we learn to have more grace and forgiveness? How can we learn to give ourselves space to feel whatever it is that we're feeling instead of buffering away from it?
We need so much more of that in the world because then they can take that and turn it outwards.
Absolutely.
You started the weight loss journey and your entrepreneurial journey and your life coaching all kind of at the same time.
Yeah. So when I started my weight loss journey, I had started my side business, my graphic design business at the time. And so what I realized was that all this mindset stuff that I was learning in terms of my health journey absolutely translated into my entrepreneurial journey. I mean, everything in our lives all has to do with mindset and our thoughts. And
what you think about, you bring about. I say it to my kids almost every day. I say it to my employees.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful.
It is. Our thoughts are the most powerful thing. Our minds are the most powerful thing. And I love the way that you said what you
think about, you bring about.
I love that. Another one that I've been saying a lot lately is things grow where energy flows. And if you think about like our minds almost being like this garden, right? In your garden, there's always gonna be weeds that pop up, and weeds can be like negative thoughts that pop up in your garden. And if you don't take time to tend to that garden and notice those thoughts that come up, maybe the negative ones or the bad ones that aren't serving you, and take time to weed them, and instead just focus and think about them and fixate on them, that's like you watering those weeds. And where you give your energy, that's going to be what grows. And that's what I realized I'd been doing for so long. It was like, this sounds so simple, but it was this life-changing realization for me that, oh, just because I have a thought doesn't mean I have to believe it.
Doesn't mean it's your own.
It doesn't mean it's my own. It could have been put there by my parents, by society,
or just something you heard and then you thought about it. Doesn't mean it defines you. I say that to my kids too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting, I had learned I started listening to this podcast when I first started losing weight. It's called Losing 100 Pounds with Corinne Crabtree. Highly recommend if anyone is on their own health journey, even if you don't have 100 pounds to lose. But she is really one of the ones that I learned a lot from in terms of this mindset piece in relation to my health journey. And she got coached by another woman who has her own school, the Life Coach School. Brooke Castillo also has a great podcast. And she has what she calls the model. And it's basically a spinoff of cognitive behavioral therapy. But the way that it works is in our life, there are circumstances. Circumstances are neutral. They're just the facts of the world. They just are what is. They could be other people's thoughts, opinions, the things they say. They could be things like COVID. It could be whatever it is. They're just the facts of the world. Circumstances can't affect us until we have a thought about it. The way that we think about things is what gives them meaning and purpose in our life. And then our thoughts are what create our internal feelings and emotions within our body. And our emotions impact what we do or don't do. And those actions create our results. So if you have results in your life, whether it's your health, your business, whatever it is, if there are results in your life that you don't like, your family, it's not enough to change the action. You have to go back and change the thoughts. And I think this is why traditional diets for so many people don't work, because the traditional diet industry is saying, okay, here's your circumstance. Your circumstance is, Kiah, you weigh 285 pounds. So if you weigh 285 pounds, these are the foods you eat. These are the workouts that you do, and then you'll get this result. And it's nothing wrong with the diet. It's nothing wrong with the action itself. It's just that it's not the action that was keeping me stuck. I've always known what I needed to do to be healthy. I knew how to move my body. I knew how to eat healthy. I knew the basics of nutrition. I think most of us do. The problem is that we aren't taking action. And that all stems from the way that we're thinking about something, thinking about ourselves, and the way it's making us feel, whether we do or don't take that action.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. They did a study. It was basically they took two groups of people and they would put them through a workout. And one of the groups, they said, this is a milkshake. You're going to drink it after workout, every time you work out. The second group, they said, this is a energy shake. This is a health shake. And then they studied kind of what happened in their brain and how they processed the information and what happened to their body. And they actually found that over a course of weeks, the people that believed they were drinking the milkshakes started gaining weight.
Interesting.
They were both drinking the same drink.
That is so interesting.
So fascinating. So I do think there is so much more power behind our thoughts and and our relationship with foods.
Mhm.
People who like bless their food, like they have an appreciation for what they're eating.
Yeah.
And like you said, so many of us go into it where we're not feeling good and we know we shouldn't eat this, but it tastes good. So then like how we process that energy in our body, that food is going to be different.
Yeah.
Tune in next Friday for part 2, where Kiah Twisselman shares more of her wellness journey on the Candid with Canon podcast.